All right, so today we'll dive into something kind of different.
Yeah.
Forgiveness.
Forgiveness.
I know it can be a little like, oh, come on.
Yeah, cheesy.
But what if I told you that
Yeah.
forgiveness could actually be the thing you've been missing
Right.
for more happiness, success, even breaking free from bad habits?
That's exactly what we are going to explore today during this deep dive into the book 4 Steps to Forgiveness by Fergus Martin.
Hmm.
And trust me,
Oh, okay.
this book is not about
Yeah.
moralizing or guilt tripping.
Right.
It's a tactical guide.
Okay.
Really a tactical guide to unlocking some pretty incredible benefits.
I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
But let's be honest.
Yeah.
Most of us think about forgiveness as something we should do.
Right.
Maybe for religious reasons or
Absolutely.
to be a good person.
Yeah.
But what's in it for me?
That's what's so interesting about this book.
Okay.
Because Martin argues that forgiveness isn't just a moral obligation. It's a powerful tool for personal transformation.
Okay.
He lays out tangible benefits that go way beyond the feel-good stuff.
Okay.
This is, this is big-time stuff.
Like what?
Improved relationships.
Okay.
Increased success.
Uh-huh.
Even more energy and clarity in your everyday life.
More energy and clarity. How does forgiveness even do that?
He uses this brilliant analogy.
Okay.
He says holding on to unforgiveness is like riding a bike with the brakes on.
Oh.
You're putting in all this effort, but you're constantly being held back by this invisible force.
Okay. Yeah, I could definitely see that. We all had that experience where you just feel like resentment or anger can just drain you, and cloud your thinking.
Yeah, totally.
So forgiveness is kind of like releasing the brakes.
Yes.
And letting yourself move forward.
100%. And what's so fascinating is how he connects forgiveness to success, particularly financial abundance.
Really? That's not a connection I would have made.
Interesting.
Okay, tell me more about that.
So he argues that holding on to resentment towards wealthy people can actually block opportunities for us to create wealth ourselves.
Oh.
It's about shifting our mindset from scarcity to possibility.
I see. So it's not about being jealous of other people's success, but recognizing that there's enough for everyone and that our negative feelings are the thing holding us back.
100%. It's not about ignoring injustice or pretending everything is rosy.
Right.
But rather recognizing that our own mental and emotional state plays a huge role in what we attract into our lives.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But how do we actually get to that place?
Right.
Especially when we've been really hurt.
That's where Martin's 4-step process comes in.
Okay.
And here's where things get really practical.
Yeah.
He emphasizes that the process is most effective when done in writing. It's about getting those thoughts and feelings out of our heads and onto paper.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense because you're forced to confront those emotions and be more intentional about it.
Yeah.
So walk us through the steps.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's the first one?
The first step is to clearly identify WHO you need to forgive and what for.
Okay.
This might seem obvious,
All right.
but it's about getting laser focused on the specific situation and the person involved.
So no vague feelings of resentment towards the world.
Right, exactly.
Life in general.
No, it has to be.
You have to name names.
Yeah, you got to name names and get specific.
Got it.
The more specific you are, the more effective the process will be.
That makes sense?
Yeah.
Step 1, check. What's next?
Step 2 is where you honestly list your unhappy feelings about the situation.
Okay.
Don't hold back here.
Yeah.
Even if those feelings are messy or intense.
Okay.
It's about acknowledging the raw truth of where you are emotionally.
No sugarcoating.
Yeah, sugarcoat.
Really?
Yeah.
Even if you don't.
Even the ones we might be ashamed of.
I can see how that would be hard.
It's hard.
But also liberating.
It is liberating.
To finally give yourself permission to just acknowledge how you feel.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we've identified who and what.
Right.
And we've confronted our feelings about it.
We've gotten real with ourselves.
What's step 3?
All right, so step 3 is where things start to shift.
Okay.
You're going to list the benefits you'll get from forgiving. This might feel a little counterintuitive at first.
Yeah.
But try to focus on the positive outcomes of letting go.
So if in step 2 we were wallowing in the muck.
Now we're thinking about.
Now we're shifting gears.
The positive.
Visualizing the positive.
Okay.
Think about it as creating a roadmap for the future you want to create.
I like that.
Yeah.
It's giving yourself a reason to want to do this.
It is. And often the benefits you list will be the direct opposites of the negative feelings you identified in step 2. So if you're feeling anger, maybe the benefit is peace.
Exactly.
Resentment, freedom.
There you go.
Okay, like taking those negative emotions and flipping them.
Flipping the script.
Yeah, I'm starting to see how powerful this could be.
Yeah.
All right, what was the final step?
The final step is where you craft your forgiveness affirmation.
Okay,
so you take those benefits you just listed and create a powerful statement that reinforces your intention to forgive and embrace those positive outcomes.
So something like, I forgive blank for blank.
Yes.
And I choose to embrace the peace and freedom that forgiveness brings.
Exactly. And the book emphasizes that repeating this affirmation regularly, especially when those old hurts start to resurface, can be incredibly powerful.
It's like training your mind to think a certain way.
It's creating a new mental pathway, training our minds to focus on forgiveness rather than resentment.
And Martin calls this the forgiveness vortex.
He uses the term forgiveness vortex to describe this process.
I love that.
He says that by repeatedly engaging in these 4 steps, we create a sort of momentum that pulls us toward true forgiveness.
A forgiveness vortex.
Yeah,
it's like sucking away the pain and making space for good stuff.
And it's not just some airy-fairy concept.
Right.
Martin has some serious credibility in this field. Yeah. He's the founder of a global forgiveness initiative.
Oh, wow.
His book has been translated into numerous languages, and his website gets millions of visitors.
So clearly he's onto something.
He's onto something, right?
Okay, so we've got these 4 steps.
Yeah.
We're creating a forgiveness vortex.
Yes.
But I'm guessing there's more to it than just those 4 steps.
There is.
What are some of the other insights that he reveals about forgiveness?
That's where things get really mind-blowing.
Okay.
The book delves into some unexpected connections between forgiveness and overcoming some really tough challenges.
Like what?
We're talking things like anxiety, depression, even addiction and loneliness.
Weight forgiveness as an antidote to addiction and loneliness.
Yes.
Now that's a connection I never would have made.
That's a great place to pick up in part 2.
Okay.
We'll dive into those unexpected connections and explore how forgiveness can be a key to unlocking a whole new level of well-being.
Sounds good.
I'm ready.
Welcome back.
All right, so in the last part, we talked about some of the benefits of forgiveness and the 4 steps.
Yeah.
But the thing that really stuck with me is that forgiveness.
Yeah.
It's not just some vague idea.
Right.
It's a process.
It is.
A tool we can actually use to create change.
It is. And as we dig deeper into Martin's book, we discover that forgiveness has these implications for our lives that we might not have even considered.
Okay.
For example, he talks about the concept of tough forgiveness.
Tough forgiveness.
Yeah.
That sounds a little paradoxical.
It does, right.
How can forgiveness be tough?
Well, it's about recognizing that forgiveness doesn't equal being a pushover.
It doesn't mean condoning bad behavior or allowing ourselves to be continually hurt.
I see.
Tough forgiveness is about setting healthy boundaries and maintaining our self-respect.
Okay.
Even while we're working on forgiving.
So it's not about letting the other person off the hook.
Exactly.
But how do we know when to set those boundaries?
Right.
How do we balance forgiveness with protecting ourselves?
That's where things get really nuanced.
Yeah.
Martin gives some great examples in the book.
Okay.
Tough forgiveness might involve requiring an apology from the person who hurt you.
Okay.
Or seeing evidence of changed behavior before you're willing to reconcile.
Okay.
It might even involve suggesting counseling as part of the process.
So it's about creating a safe space for forgiveness to happen for ourselves and maybe for the other person.
Exactly. And he makes a clear distinction between forgiveness and reconciliation.
Right. Because we can forgive someone.
Yes, you can forgive someone.
Without necessarily reconciling with them.
Exactly. Sometimes forgiveness is about creating healthy distance. It's about saying, I forgive you, but I'm choosing to move on with my life without you in it.
Yeah, and I think that's where self-forgiveness comes in.
Yes, absolutely.
Forgiving ourselves for maybe putting up with bad behavior for too long.
100%.
Not setting those boundaries when we should have.
Yes. And that brings us to one of the most surprising connections Martin makes in the book.
Okay.
He links forgiveness to overcoming addiction.
Forgiveness and addiction.
Yeah.
I don't see the connection.
So he explains how unresolved pain, often stemming from childhood trauma or difficult relationships, can actually drive addictive behaviors. It's like we're trying to numb the pain with substances or unhealthy habits.
Oh, so it's not just about forgiving other people.
Right.
It's about addressing the hurt within ourselves.
Yes, healing those deep wounds that might be driving those addictive behaviors.
That's a really powerful insight. And it makes me think about another connection he makes, which is between forgiveness and overcoming loneliness.
Right.
How does that fit in?
It all comes back to self-forgiveness.
Okay.
If we haven't forgiven ourselves for our own perceived flaws or mistakes, it becomes much harder to connect authentically with others.
Because we're so busy judging ourselves.
Yes. It's like we're projecting that inner judgment onto the world around us, creating a barrier to forming genuine relationships.
Makes sense.
Yeah. And on the flip side, when we practice self-compassion and forgiveness, we become more open and receptive to others.
We create space for connection.
Exactly.
You know, this is really making me realize that forgiveness is so much more than I ever thought.
It is.
It's not just about letting go of anger. It's about healing.
Yeah.
It's about self-acceptance.
Right.
And it's about connecting with others in a more authentic way.
Beautifully said. And Martin goes even deeper, exploring how this inner work of forgiveness can actually impact our success in the outer world.
Really?
Yeah.
How so?
Well, remember earlier how we talked about the connection between forgiveness and financial abundance? He expands on that idea, arguing that holding on to resentment towards successful people can actually block our own path to success.
It's like we're so focused on what other people have.
Right.
That we miss out on our own opportunities.
Exactly. It's not about ignoring injustice, but rather recognizing that our own mental and emotional state plays a huge role in shaping our reality.
So by letting go of those resentments, we can focus on our own goals.
Yeah, and as we release those negative emotions, we become more open to collaboration, more willing to learn from others, and less likely to sabotage ourselves with self-doubt and limiting beliefs.
It's incredible. It sounds like forgiveness is the foundation.
It is.
For so much good in our lives.
It is.
Healthier relationships, greater success, and overcoming those deep-seated patterns that might be holding us back.
You're getting it. And that brings us to what I consider one of the most profound and perhaps the most challenging aspects of forgiveness. Forgiving ourselves.
Yeah. Self-forgiveness. That's a big one.
It is. And it's something that Martin returns to again and again in the book.
Why do you think that is?
That's a great question, and one that we'll dive into more deeply in the next part.
Okay.
But for now, I'll leave you with this thought. What if forgiving ourselves is the key to unlocking all those other forms of forgiveness? What if it's the foundation for healing our relationships, achieving our goals, and creating a life of true peace and fulfillment?
That's a powerful question, and one I'm definitely going to be pondering as we head into part 3.
Yeah.
Join us then as we explore the complexities of self-forgiveness and uncover the transformative power it holds. So we've uncovered some incredible insights about forgiveness.
We have.
From the unexpected benefits to the connections to things like addiction and loneliness.
Right.
But the thing that we haven't really talked about is forgiving ourselves.
Yeah, that's right.
And I think for me, that's the hardest part.
Yeah.
It feels so much easier to forgive other people than to forgive myself for my own mistakes.
Absolutely.
It almost feels selfish, like I'm letting myself off the hook.
That's a really common misconception.
Okay.
And Martin addresses that head on in the book.
Okay, good.
He argues that self-forgiveness isn't about condoning our mistakes or pretending they didn't happen.
Yeah.
It's about acknowledging those mistakes, taking responsibility for them, and then choosing to release the grip they have on us.
So it's about recognizing that we're human.
Yes.
We all make mistakes.
We all make mistakes.
And that doesn't make us bad people.
Exactly. It's about extending the same compassion and understanding to ourselves that we would offer to a loved one who had messed up.
Yeah, that's a good point. But what about the guilt?
Right.
Doesn't forgiving ourselves mean that we're just ignoring those mistakes?
That's where the distinction between guilt and shame comes in.
Right.
Guilt can be a healthy emotion.
Okay.
It signals that we've done something wrong and need to make amends. It motivates us to do better next time.
But shame is different.
Shame is different.
Shame is about who we are.
Exactly. Shame is that feeling of being inherently flawed or unworthy.
Yeah.
And it can be incredibly destructive.
Keeps us stuck.
Keeps us stuck in a cycle of self-sabotage.
Right.
Prevents us from reaching our full potential.
So how does self-forgiveness help us break free from that shame?
It's about recognizing that our worthiness is not contingent on our actions. We are worthy of love and belonging regardless of our past mistakes.
It's like we're rewriting the story we tell ourselves.
Yes, you're changing the narrative.
Instead of focusing on our flaws,
right,
we're choosing to see ourselves with compassion.
And that shift in perspective impacts our relationships.
Right.
Our work, our overall well-being.
I see. And this goes back to that quote we talked about earlier.
Yes.
The price of forgiving yourself is that it will be harder to stop yourself from forgiving others.
Such a powerful quote.
It really shows how connected all of this is.
It does. When we learn to forgive ourselves, it becomes easier to forgive others.
Yeah, we're breaking that cycle.
Exactly. And that creates a more compassionate and forgiving world for everyone.
It all starts with ourselves.
It does.
So how do we actually do that?
Right.
How do we practice self-forgiveness?
That's a great question.
Is it the same 4 steps?
Yes, those steps can be incredibly helpful for self-forgiveness as well.
So we start by identifying what we need to forgive ourselves for.
Right. Maybe it's a past mistake, a bad decision, even a pattern of negative self-talk that's been holding you back.
Okay. Then we acknowledge those feelings.
Yes, the guilt, shame, self-judgment.
This time we're directing them inward.
It can be tough.
Yeah.
But it's crucial for healing.
It's about acknowledging the pain.
Yes, and making a conscious choice to move forward.
And then step 3, we focus on the benefits.
Exactly, the benefits of forgiving ourselves.
Not just for us,
right,
but for the people around us.
How might forgiving ourselves improve our relationships, our work, our ability to show up in the world?
When we let go of that burden,
yes,
we have more energy to give to others.
Absolutely.
Okay, and then the final step is the forgiveness affirmation.
Yes, but this time it's directed toward ourselves.
So something like, I forgive myself.
Yes.
And I choose to embrace the peace and freedom that self-forgiveness brings.
Exactly.
And we repeat this regularly.
Yes, especially when those negative thoughts and feelings start creeping back in.
We're retraining our minds.
You got it.
To focus on compassion instead of judgment.
Exactly. And as we cultivate that inner peace, it radiates outward.
This has been eye-opening.
It is a powerful topic.
I was a little skeptical about forgiveness at first.
Yeah.
But now I really see it in a new light.
It's not about weakness.
It's about taking back our power.
Yes, healing our wounds and creating a more loving and fulfilling life.
It's about recognizing that we're all works in progress.
We are.
We all make mistakes.
We do.
And we all deserve compassion.
Including ourselves.
So if you're ready to experience the transformative power of forgiveness, pick up a copy of 4 Steps to Forgiveness by Fergus Martin.
It's a great guide.
Yeah, it can help you navigate this and unlock a deeper sense of peace and freedom in your life.
And as you embark on this journey, remember to extend that same compassion to yourself that you offer to others.
Forgiving ourselves is often the hardest step.
It is.
But it's also the most liberating.
It is so. Take a deep breath. Release those burdens and embrace the transformative power of forgiveness.
Until next time, keep diving deep.